Today's presentation is titled Leveraging Growth Opportunities Through MedAccred. I'm Courtney Young, an attorney in Medmarc's Risk Management Department. On behalf of Medmarc and today's presenters, Connie Conboy, Bill Donahue, and Anthony Cirilli, thank you for joining us. Connie is the director at MedAccred. As such, she's responsible for the MedAccred program, an industry-managed critical manufacturing supply chain oversight process for the medical device industry. Bill Donahue is the president and executive director of GenEdge. He has consistently been able to incorporate expertise within a wide variety of high-impact disciplines such as supply chain optimization, growth services, and innovation, Lean Six Sigma, and strategic planning. The creation and delivery of unique client solutions has been enhanced by his prior executive experience with market leaders such as General Electric. Anthony Cirilli is the director of national programs at GenEdge. He is leading the National Manufacturing Extension Partnership, MEP, program to assist medical device manufacturers in achieving MedAccred Accreditation. This important MEP program is focused on growing manufacturing jobs within the United States while improving medical device product quality and patient safety. With that, I am pleased to turn things over to Connie, who will begin today's presentation.
Well, thank you, Courtney, and thanks to everyone joining us in the weather today. The focus really of this whole program is to improve patient safety. So that's what it's really all about. And there are many challenges that I know a number of you are facing. The increased number of recalls, inadequate flow down of design requirements from the OEMs to the sub-tiers, and something that's really cited by FDA many times, in 483 observations, the inadequate purchasing controls. Of course, there are quality issues in specific technology areas such as batteries, printed circuit board assemblies, power sources, sterilization, cable and wire harness, and many others. And of course, the complexity of overseeing outsourcing and the globalization of the supply chain. These are all challenges for the industry today. And there's a real cost to poor execution. In fact, during an FDA meeting in October, a leading industry executive discussed the costs to many of the companies. And one CAPA costs a company between $50,000 and $100,000 to close out. One FDA 483 is $500,000 to $1.5 million to address. So this goes right to the bottom line. What is MedAccred? MedAccred is an industry-managed supply chain oversight program for the critical manufacturing processes focused, as we said, on reducing risk to patient safety, assuring the quality of the products, and verifying compliance to requirements. And what does it do? MedAccred Audits verify that an accredited supplier has the critical process capability, the necessary equipment. And by necessary equipment, for example, if we'd be in a heat treating audit, the auditor would look at where the thermocouples are placed in the heat treating furnace and how they're calibrated, and many things like this. They're doing a deep dive into every piece of equipment that is critical to that process. And we look at the controls. So, for example, if we were doing a printed circuit board assembly audit, the auditor would be looking at things such as the tip temperature of the soldering iron, how it's maintained and calibrated, and again, very deep dives all throughout that process. They're also looking at the qualification of the personnel. So within each area of the manufacturing operation, they're assessing as to whether that individual that works that part of the process is qualified and knowledgeable enough if something goes wrong, and is doing their job the way they need to. We also look at process validation as required by FDA and oversee that, and the sub-tier controls. So the auditor's following requirements as defined by industry standards, manufacturing best practices, and OEM requirements that are captured in our audit criteria. Now, this is very different than a quality management system audit, and that's something very important to keep in mind. We look at the quality management system audit as being something that is it establishes a solid foundation, and we require that a company has a current valid certificate to for their quality management system in things like ISO 1345 or ISO 9001 or something like this, but they do have to have a valid quality management certification. And what we do is very different. We look at the quality management system as just being an inch deep on the critical process side, but a mile wide on the quality system side. What we do is a mile deep on the critical process side and just an inch wide on the quality system side. So the two together help ensure the final product quality. We believe one without the other is not sufficient to ensure your final product quality. It's very interesting to know how this whole program got its start, and it really began with Johnson & Johnson, their diffuse synthesis operation in Ireland. They did a benchmarking study of their heat treating suppliers and found that there were significant quality differences between different suppliers, and they realized that the suppliers that had the best quality, and this is for orthopedic parts that they were buying, and the NADCAP accredited suppliers had much better quality than those that did not. So they approached us because PRI, my organization, administers the program for the aerospace industry, and that's called NADCAP. And they came to us and said, what is this about, and then can you do for the medical device industry what you're doing for aerospace? And in aerospace, we've been doing this for 28 years, so we have quite a bit of experience in this, and it's been highly successful for companies like Boeing and Airbus, and the big airplane manufacturers use this approach to overseeing their supply chain. So we proceeded with that in mind. Johnson & Johnson felt this is something that the medical device industry could really use. And we held a meeting in Chicago with all the major medical device companies and obtained solid support to start the program. And then we started our meetings with FDA, again, establishing firm support from FDA for the program. Now, there are many active companies in the program. We have our subscribers that are funding the program, and that would be Baxter, Boston Scientific, Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, Philips, and Stryker. They're all subscribers to the program. And subscribers fund the program. They have the final vote in determining the audit criteria. They also have full access to audit findings, and they determine who's granted MedAccred Accreditation. So they actually vote on granting the accreditation to the individual suppliers. So they provide real oversight through this process. But there are many other actively participating OEMs and contract manufacturers you see on this list, and they're devoting a lot of manpower to the program and a lot of support. There are a number of areas now that we are granting the MedAccred accreditations, and all the areas that you see highlighted that are in black type are current accreditation. So cable and wire harness in the electronics area, heat treating, and you can see all the different metal systems and heat treating processes that we have as part of potential scope of that audit, and that also includes brazing as well. Plastics, we have plastics extrusion, plastics injection molding. We also have printed circuit board assemblies, PCBA, and sterilization, ethylene oxide and radiation, both gamma and E-beam, and welding. Now there are two areas in the blue type that we are currently in the process of piloting. So the audit criteria has been almost complete, and we're in the process of piloting that now with individual companies, and then we will finalize that audit criteria and start issuing accreditation. So that's the plastics mechanical assembly and printed boards, the bare boards, both flexible and rigid, that are used as the boards in the printed circuit board assemblies. Another area that we are currently actively involved in is sterile device packaging, and that is audit criteria that's currently in development. We're expecting that that will be ready for audits sometime mid-year. So June, July timeframe, we'll be ready to audit in that area. And each one of these take about a year to fully develop the audit criteria. Okay, next you can really see how this works. We really start with developing the audit criteria in each of those critical process areas. And to do that, industry experts, so the companies that you saw on the list of actively involved companies and subscribers, devote their experts within their organization to that particular task group where the audit criteria is developed. And again, we take about a year to fully develop that audit criteria, And so there's a lot of time and effort put into that, and then the companies finally vote on accepting then that as being the audit criteria. The auditors are also selected by that task group, so the individual technical experts from those companies identify the appropriate auditors, and then they are hired, and they test them. They put them through rounds of interviews to make sure. Most of these auditors have spent a career in that particular process in manufacturing before they're hired as an auditor for us. And then, of course, the audits are conducted by the auditor, and we do audits around the globe. So wherever the manufacturing is taking place, we have audits. The audits are then reviewed by our staff engineer, and there are generally there are findings during the audit. That is fully that is something that the subscribers have full access to, so they can see what the findings are from the audit, and then the company has an opportunity to address those findings and to start their corrective actions, and they have to complete the corrective actions to the satisfaction of industry. So all the subscribers to the program have visibility into the findings and how they've been closed out, what the corrective actions have been, and they have to be happy with exactly what has transpired and how that company has closed out the findings before they will actually grant accreditation to the company. And the accreditation is given, it's actually voted on by industry. So it's actually the industry that grants that accreditation. And PRI, my organization, just administers the program. And we're a not-for-profit trade association, and we do this, we administer this program on behalf of, the leaders, of course, in the medical device industry. So the major benefits of the program really are captured here. And you see industry experts work together in these task groups, as you see. They look at the rigorous industry standards, manufacturing best practices, and OEM-specific requirements, and they work together to ensure that we capture that in the audit criteria. So we enhance requirements through these technical task groups and really get the best that industry has in terms of what their perspective is and how that process needs to to occur in the manufacturing operation. And we're also conducting more rigorous critical process audits annually with these experienced technical experts. And the auditor that goes in is highly experienced, again, in that process. And we're able to reach further down in the supply chain. So it's very difficult to oversee the supply chain through the tiers. And we're able to get, wherever that critical process is occurring, we have the audits taking place. So if you are working with a contract manufacturer that has all the sub-tiers, that, if that critical process is occurring anywhere in the supply chain, we can accredit that, and that is certainly a real value to the OEMs for their oversight of their supply chain. There's a real global reach, of course, to the program. We have audits taking place, many in the United States, certainly in Mexico, Costa Rica, China, United Kingdom, France, Romania, Austria, and Malaysia. And there are many others now being scheduled also within our system. So the number of countries involved is continuing to expand. FDA has been very much a supporter of the program, and of course, as you know, many of you, FDA is piloting a maturity model for quality currently, and they're looking at what the level of maturity is of a company, and they're looking at 30 different companies to become part of this pilot. And FDA hopes at the end of this process that they'll be able to develop a way that they can focus on companies that are not as mature in their quality journey. And certainly MedAccred is demonstrating a much higher level of maturity for a company that's involved in the program in terms of their quality journey. So this is something that I think will become very important for companies as they continue to work with MedAccred. In addition, we've been working with FDA specifically on, some of the standards that are embedded in our accreditation. So, for example, in the heat treating accreditation, we have AMS 2750 for plyometry. Now, this has been given complete recognition by FDA, so that is something that's very helpful to the OEMs, and FDA defers to recognize consensus standards when reviewing products during the pre-market phase. So this is something that really can be extremely valuable for companies, and if you are accredited to MedAccred in heat treating, you have met that standard. Another arm of our government has awarded money to support U.S. companies to help them achieve MedAccred accreditation, and you can hear from some of the leaders now of the program, and I think this is going to be very valuable for you. In fact, Bill Donahue, the President and Executive Director of GenEdge, will discuss his organization and how you can begin to work with them so that they can help you. So with that, Bill?
Thanks, Connie. I appreciate the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. What I'm going to do today is introduce you to the MEP National Network, provide you some information on how we provide services to manufacturers across the United States, and introduce you to an exciting program that we have designed to help propel medical device manufacturers in the United States to a position of, I would call it, security and continuous improvement in the application of critical processes to the manufacture of medical devices and instruments. So the MEP National Network has actually been around since the early 1990s, and it is what we call a public-private partnership. That means that the federal government, through an organization called NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is a unit of the Department of Commerce, invests in a network of centers that provide management and technology consulting and training services to companies all across the United States, including Puerto Rico. Through that network, they're able to partner with various states and localities to provide a means to deliver very affordable solutions to small and mid-sized companies and plants, regardless of where they're located. Through the network, we now have over 1,300 trusted advisors and experts providing solutions for our customers. There are over 400 MEP service locations, and that really puts us in a position where we're generally only about 2 hours away from any facility in the United States. So from a national network perspective, and Justin, if you could move the slide, please. The MEP National Network is really built on a few unique qualities. We provide very comprehensive services. We've got a national reach, and we have literally thousands of connections. When we say connections, when you work with a trusted advisor at an MEP center such as GenEdge, we have access to vetted private sector consultants who provide very high quality, very efficient and effective services. Many of our organizations are associated with think tanks like the Brookings Institution or major technology developers such as Battelle or the Research Triangle Institute. And we have relationship with those organizations to provide affordable solutions no matter how large or small the company is that we're working with. We have relationships with universities, land-grant institutions, and for that matter, associations such as MedAccred, who are trying to provide unique solutions to industry. One of the other things that I think is a differentiator for the MEP National Network is we are really driven to deliver demonstrable, measurable, validated business results and impact. And we do that operating in a not-for-profit manner. So in 2017, the MEP National Network actually provided services and connected with over 26,000 manufacturers. And perhaps some of the folks who are on the line today have had, meaningful engagements with colleagues from the MEP network to myself. Those customers really hold us to a high standard, as does the Department of Commerce, which is ultimately the core funder of MEP services. And doing that, what that entity does is they are able to go out to our client base and independently assess the results that were achieved through the assistance that our technical and management network provides. And roughly, when we look at every dollar that is actually invested by our customers in services that we deliver, roughly $23 to $25 of impact is generated for the firm. And oh, by the way, we are affiliated with government organizations, and another important aspect of the metrics that we are held to a high standard on is to help and create and to retain manufacturing jobs. And last year we had over 100,000 jobs that were associated with work that we performed. So we're pretty excited that we were able to obtain some startup funding from NIST MEP to allow us to support manufacturers and businesses such as yourselves as you seek to gain MedAccred accreditation. And to do that, we've established a national network program to help your companies get the technical assistance necessary to be able to go through the accreditation process in a robust and well-founded and high-quality manner. And what I would like to do at this point in time is introduce my colleague, Tony Cirilli. And Tony is the individual who is responsible for this MEP National Network program to give you some background on exactly what it is we're doing over the next couple of years to start up this exciting service. Tony.
Thank you, Bill. So next slide, Justin, please. All right, so what the Medical Manufacturers MedAccred Accreditation Pathway, or MedMap program, was designed to do was to help manufacturers with facilities in the U.S. To do an effective and efficient audit preparation to gain MedAccred accreditation. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive the competitiveness of U.S. facilities, like Bill had mentioned, to increase sales, increase jobs. We're trying to also decrease industry costs and, as Connie mentioned, improve patient safety. So this 2-year startup program, the funds that we received from NIST MEP is to help us get this program up and rolling, and then we're going to roll it into a self-sustaining type of program. And really why it's important is because a lot of manufacturers, particularly small and medium-sized manufacturers, you really don't have the staffing bandwidth to effectively and efficiently prepare for MedAccred accreditation. And so that's where we come in. We're here to help you with that. Next slide. All right, so what happens during this program is the MedMap industry experts will come in and will perform an assessment of your current state of your organization, and we do that in reference to the MedAccred audit criteria, and then we'll develop a plan to help close any kind of gaps that you may have. And what we would do is we would work with your staff, and we would do everything from mentoring you through actually helping you execute in closing those gaps. You know, whatever level of need a supplier particularly has, and that's really where we can really pull in those 13,000 national network experts to help us out with that. But we'll help close those gaps and get you ready for the MedAccred Accreditation. And then once your audit is complete, if there's any findings, and there usually are, we'll help you close those findings and achieve accreditation. And so we've got some partner centers that we're working with. I'm with GenEdge. We're Virginia's MEP center, but we also are working with California, the CMTC center out there. We've got Georgia at the Georgia Tech Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Our friends in New Jersey at New Jersey MEP. We're with Indiana at Purdue University at their MEP, and with Michigan at the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center. And so what we're doing is we are creating the system to go out and help regionally and nationally to help manufacturers. And what we're looking for is we're looking for manufacturers with a facility in the U.S. that has a NAICS code, that is a manufacturing NAICS code. And what a NAICS code is, it's a North American Industry Classification System that's used by the federal agencies, and what it does is it classifies what particular business that you're in. So like Bill had mentioned, the statistics that were measured against, the federal government uses those NAICS codes to attribute those sales and jobs to the manufacturing industry. Next slide, please. All right, so what we have is we have a website that you can go to get some more information on MedAccred. It's got links to the PRI website and the MedAccred website. You can learn about the MEDMAP program. You can also express interest in assistance from us. There's my contact information as well as all the partner centers on that website. So that website is at medmap.org, medmap.org, or you can just email me directly at acerelli@genedge.org. And I'm really excited about this program. I think it's very important to, for U.S. facilities to gain MedAccred accreditation. Connie had mentioned that this is the MedAccred program is a global program. With the high cost of switching suppliers, I think that once an OEM selects a supplier, it's very difficult to switch. So if U.S. facilities can gain MedAccred accreditation, that really gives them an opportunity to capture that business and not be locked out of future business opportunities. But thank you for your time today.
Well,
Connie?
Thank you, Tony. This really is a great opportunity for any U.S. manufacturer to take part in the program and to gain some of the opportunity through this funding. I think it's very nice for suppliers, and you're right. Once a manufacturer gains that new business from a medical device company, that is something that typically stays with that factory for the life of the product. So it is a very good business for the manufacturers. So what are the benefits to the suppliers? It improves the quality of products and reduces scrap and rework. And this is something that manufacturers that we've worked with, that we've accredited, have come back to us and really have told us that they're seeing a great improvement there. And it's not a surprise, because that also happens in the aerospace industry when we come in with this accreditation process. It's also an opportunity to reduce your liability insurance costs, because you're reducing the risk to patients, and that definitely can have an impact on insurance premiums. And it's a potential to expand business. So by gaining MedAccred accreditation, you open up the doors to the industry for their new product business, because there are a number of companies now that are seeking out suppliers that have this accreditation, and if they do, they're the ones that have the inside track for the new business. Now, you can learn more about the MedAccred program at a number of upcoming events, and in the next few months, we'll be at the Q1 production event, which is the 7th semi-annual risk-based medical device supplier quality assurance conference in Arlington, Virginia, and that's April 23rd and 24th. and you'll be able to hear from Scott Daphne from Johnson & Johnson and Paul Hugo from Global Technologies. And Global is a supplier that's been through the process and gained a significant amount of new business as a result. There will also be a presentation that Courtney Young will be giving at the Florida Medical Device Symposium. And St. Petersburg, Florida sounds very nice to me right now. We have some snow on the ground here, so May 14th and 15th. And she'll be talking as part of the presentation about MedAccred. And then there'll be another discussion June 11th and 12th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And you'll hear from Stryker, from Scott Goolsby, and Ann Sheldon from Medtronic. So both Stryker and Medtronic will be talking about the program and the importance to them. So that will be, those will be places where you can really learn a little bit more about the MedAccred program. And you can read a lot about it, of course. The thought leaders are seeing the impact. It's now being covered regularly in the media. And in fact, as early as 2016, MedAccred was cited as one of the top 3 trends in the medical device industry. And we've only grown since then. So the program really is expanding quite a bit. So thank you. Now I think we head to, this is some of the contact information for reaching me or Tony, and also includes Justin, the co-lead on the MedAccred program. So if there are questions, I think now we have the opportunity to answer those.
Great. So we'll now begin the Q&A session. If you have a question, please feel free to submit it using the Q&A panel located at the bottom right of your screen. After typing your question in the space provided, hit the Send button. Please be sure to direct your question to all panelists in the Ask menu. So we do have a couple questions come in. I guess a good one to start with, what is the process if you wanted to become a subscriber? Who would you talk to? How do you get involved, and what are the steps to take?
Sure. If you want to become a subscriber, you can reach out to me, Connie Conboy, or Justin McCabe from PRI, and we'll give you the whole subscriber package. It's you have to provide some funding for the program, but that usually is very cost effective for companies actually. And then we will walk you through the process and get you involved as heavily as possible into the program as quickly as we can. There'll, of course, be some agreements to sign as well, so that, and they're just standard types of agreements for a program like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question a listener asks, is the name of the company under audit withheld from the subscriber?
No, actually, that's something that's very important to the subscribers. This is the way they're providing oversight to their supply chain. So the company being audited absolutely is visible to any subscriber to the program, and they will see all the findings from that supplier as well. And that's part of the value to the subscribers.
Okay, and once a company's been accredited, what's the duration of that accreditation?
It's good for 1 year, and then they are reaccredited at the end of that year. So there'd be another audit each year. Now, once a company has been in the program for 3 years and achieved accreditations and met certain requirements that indicate that they really have done a very good job and have consistently shown good results, they can achieve what's called merit, and then that would be on an 18-month schedule at that point.
Okay. A question for Bill and Tony. Could you talk a little bit about requirements for suppliers to be able to work with you on your program? Does anyone qualify, or how do they find out if they're eligible for that program?
Yeah, I can answer this, Bill, if you don't mind. One of the things that we're looking for is a facility in the U.S. So because we are a U.S. government entity, we will not be supporting facilities outside the U.S. at this point. So a U.S. facility, a manufacturing NAICS code, so a NAICS code that qualifies for that, and we could assist a supplier if they don't have the NAICS code or a proper NAICS code we could help them with that. So really, as long as they have a commitment to achieve MedAccred accreditation and are serious about it, then we can help a supplier really wherever they are in whatever particular commodity that they're interested in that the MedAccred currently certifies for or accredits to.
Okay, great. And then how about the costs of working with you all?
The cost of working with the MEP network is minimal in that the startup funds will help subsidize some of the program because part of it is our development costs. So it could be it's a very low cost to the supplier. The cost of the MedAccred audit is borne by the supplier, but the actual cost of working with us, depending upon where the supplier is located, there may be some travel costs that get reimbursed, and that would be in accordance with the federal per diem requirements.
Okay, thanks so much. The questions keep rolling in. So, Connie, I think these next couple are probably for you. Is granting certification based solely on the audit and the CAPA results?
Yes, it is based on the audit and the proper closing out of the findings. And then the industry, again, votes on that accreditation, but as long as you have met those requirements, the industry will grant that accreditation, yes.
Okay, looks like we'll take just one more here. Is there a provision for suppliers to be re-audited due to a change of process or material, et cetera?
We can do a verification audit if there's an issue during the audit where companies are uncomfortable possibly being assured that the findings have been closed out properly, or if there is a significant change, within the company, as you said, we would be available to come back in and do another audit, and that would be probably also something that the subscribers would be requesting, because a company does have to advise us if they have a significant change, and then we would rely on the subscribers to that task group to make the decision as to whether they want another audit to take place prior to the end of the year. Now, there has only been one instance where we had to go back in and do a verification audit, so that's extremely unusual, but it can happen.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions we'll take. If you have any more, you have all three speakers' contact information on the screen. Thanks so much, Connie, Bill, Tony. I know this is really important information to many of the small device companies that we have listening, so thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you.
We want to remind listeners that we've featured a whole MedAccred series, and we have that available on our YouTube channel, and they provide best practices in each of the critical process areas from subject matter experts in each of these areas, and we also have one forthcoming on plastics that will be coming up later in this year.